Hello and welcome back once again to Belmont Bunch's weekly recap. Um, and this week we're going to talk about four games. We're going to talk about the future, playoff position, lineup stuff, the works. I'm here with James as always. Hi, James.
So the Islanders played 4 games this week, and they looked good in a few of them, or few of them, maybe is a better way of saying it. And Tom, why don't you pick us? Why don't you start us off with the
Yeah, I'm
Boston
gonna
games?
I'm gonna disagree with you off the top. We looked good in exactly one of them. But so the Boston, the little mini series, the two games against Boston, were, in retrospect, probably overdue because I think we had talked about this in the previous week, but we had a stretch where we won 5 out of 6 heading into the Boston series, right? And I don't think we had played that well. We played kind of two mediocre games against Philly, sandwiched between an excellent game against Washington, with the Ranger games not looking great. So, like, starting from probably the second Philly game, things didn't like they didn't play well, and they won 2 out of 3 of those games, and so they were probably overdue for a couple of stinkers where they were just they couldn't do anything right in those Boston games at all. Like, the goaltending was fine. It wasn't really the goaltending's fault. Scott Mayfield became the whipping boy over those two games because he was key on allowing Taylor Hall, who's the greatest player of all time, to score in both of those games and make me look like a complete moron. Um, so yeah, I think it was a tough 2 game set there, but maybe we'll look back at it as the little series that woke them up, because
The
I,
little
I,
series
I
that could.
yeah. Now the effort was better against Philly, but um, there was still a complete lack of putting the puck on net, and like, we had no shots through the first 10 minutes. We had like 9 shots through the first half of the game against Philly, and they were able to. The only reason they didn't lose 3 straight in regulation heading into the Ranger game was because Ilya Sorokin played an excellent game, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I think the goaltending battle is getting really interesting as we head towards the playoffs. But the Philly game, really, it was a win, but oof, that was also extremely ugly. So you come into the Ranger game, that this is an integral game in basically deciding whether we're going to be on pins and needles the rest of the season, wondering if we'll find a way to miss the playoffs, like we might have last year pre-pandemic, or are we going to win this game and all of a sudden be talking about, oh my God, we still have a shot at first. And I guess the Philly game was like that a little bit too. Coming out of the Philly game with a win, even though I wasn't happy with the performance, you kind of go, all right, just wake up, start putting pucks on net, start backing up your goalies, because the Islanders had 2 goals over the course of 3 full games. And yeah, they exploded last night. Maybe the best performance of the year from the Islanders. It was, I mean, the 1-0 Washington game was more of a typical Islander game where they don't score much, but they play excellent.
I believe you called that one a statement win.
Yeah, and I would say last night was a statement as well. It's a little bit juicier. It's a little bit
Yeah.
more exciting because it's against a rival who you might have destroyed their playoff hopes. That might have.
So I actually have a theory about this because we want to talk about the playoff standings next. So I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but if we had beat Boston both times, or even just one time, that's putting the Rangers closer to getting in. You know.
Oh, so
It's
do you have a theory that the Isles were like,
it's
what we
just
could do?
a theory.
A hockey theory.
Yeah. That I don't
Thanks
think
for watching.
by any means they intentionally lost those games or wanted to lose those games at all.
Although
right?
they did look like they did not want them.
That's a good point. Yeah, they wanted to really stick it not only to the Rangers but to Buffalo, because then Taylor Hall scored in both those games. He doubled his
Taylor
goals
Hall
for the
matched
season. Wait, sorry, what did you say?
He
though?
matched it in in 2 games.
And
he
so,
matched his
I don't know if that's anything, if that says anything about Buffalo, that they're not that they're that bad. I don't know if it's saying that he has zero weapons with him. So I think that standing wise, it sucks. We would be 2 games ahead of the Caps right now, which is insane if we won both those games.
Mm-hmm. But Boston also, I probably make it sound like I don't think I gave enough credit in my little recap, but Boston also completely earned those games,
100%.
and Boston has won 5 in a row. So I think it was just a combination of Boston playing probably maybe their best hockey of the year, and us playing perhaps our second worst, because I think we started the year off worse than
definitely
those 2 games. But
so do you have anything left to say about the 4 games this week, or do you want to kind of go right into the playoff standings?
I think we could talk just about hot and not to kind of wrap it up.
Okay, right.
So my hot player of the week, it's interesting because I feel like through the first 3 games, there's no hot player at all. Sorokin, that's it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have a lot of, don't worry, I won't take too long, but I have a lot of names. Hot. Basically all based off last night. Beauvillier gets the full, award to himself because getting 4 points in a game that I consider to be one of the biggest games of the year, despite Beau having not really played great this year overall, kind of disappearing for large portions. Huge performance in a really important game.
I just want to one thing about Beau. I don't think he disappeared in terms of effort or hustle or anything like that. It's just I think it's a little bit luck and a little bit you might disagree with me, and I might have said this before. He does kind of remind me of Komarov, the way that Komarov plays, but just much more skilled
and a lot faster.
Yes, exactly, and better looking. But we can go on and on. And so,
just kicking Uncle Leo there.
Who has been doing surprisingly well the past few games. So nothing against Uncle Leo at all. I'm sure Tom has some things to say against Uncle Leo, even if he was playing the best hockey of his life. So I think Beau's hustle has been there all season, and now it really shines in the games like the Ranger games where we're capitalizing on the opponent's mistakes and things like that. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think you're his effort isn't really the thing that I've been concerned about. It's more that he's like a top 6 winger for us, and his production. So the effort was there, but the results weren't showing. And that leads me perfectly into one of my honorable mentions for hot player of the week. Michael Dal-Cole played an excellent game last night. Really did. And maybe it took a game like that for me to recognize, in the past, I've everybody's like, oh, he's a good defensive forward, but that's about it. But he had some offensive contributions last night. I don't think he got an assist on that second goal. And he didn't get an assist on that second goal, but he was a huge part of it. So he's done some things that haven't shown up on the score sheet. Forechecking, getting the puck in deep, really kind of just basic stuff. And that's probably why it doesn't usually jump out at you. Although last night he had a steal that led to the second goal. And he should have scored a goal. He hit one off the crossbar. I wish he had scored because he deserved it last night.
I do remember you saying in one of your recaps, Dal-Cole needs to go back to Bridgeport. You had seen enough.
Yeah, that's why it's another thing. This is the week of me being wrong about everything. Taylor Hall.
Well, do you think it's just been now, hopefully, obviously it's really only one game that we're going off of, which is the Rangers game, but they're just starting to find their game, like a solid actual game with their new players, with Zajac and Palmieri?
Maybe a little bit, although I still didn't even notice Zajac or Palmieri too much last night. Zajac had a steal that led to the Eberle goal,
Yeah,
but I didn't.
didn't he assist? Didn't Zajac have an assist? Yeah. Oh, the Everly
Yeah,
goal.
he
Yeah, that was the
assisted
last
that
goal
one.
I
Yeah.
see right here. Okay.
Really, honestly, it's weird. So they each have a goal, the acquisitions, but I haven't really noticed their like play a ton.
Well,
Like,
apparently Zajac's been great with the face-offs and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. That's about all I got. You know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why they got him. He's kind
Yeah.
of a specialist at this point in his career. But as long as he's good at the thing that we got him for, it's like I'm not holding it super hard against them because it's chemistry seems to be a huge part of the Islanders in particular. Because look at Bo Bailey, who's my other honorable mention for Hot Player of the Week, and he only played one game, I think. Bo Bailey and Pajot last night. It just worked. In the words of Todd Howard, it just worked. And,
Wow.
I think
High praise.
I got to give Trotz credit because, I think he's probably tried a lot of different things to get the team back going. And he's probably, he's rolled some different lines out. And I think he hit the jackpot last night. It was probably a combination of hitting the right buttons for players in where they're going to play. Like the middle six right now has come alive. It's a shame because Barzal is my not player of the week because he's continuing to take penalties and he doesn't look very good right now, Barzal. And I genuinely do think a lot of that is his line mates have, I mean, even with Zajac doing fine on faceoffs, he doesn't really offer a ton outside of that. So Barzal doesn't really have strong wingers for himself right now. I know Eberle scored last night, but that was a little bit of a fortune. It was a 2-on-1.
Yeah. And also,
yeah.
But I was gonna say Barzal. I've noticed in the past couple of games, especially when the Islanders are down, like it's almost like you can read his face. Like he's like upset, understandably so. But like it's almost it reminds me of like this is gonna be a terrible analogy when you're playing a video game and you're down or whatever, playing some type of first-person shooter, and you're just like gripping the controller really tight. You're you're trying to do as much as you possibly can to win the game, and you end up just kind of like doing either mediocre or no better than normal, whatever. It's like you can't, no matter how hard you're trying, it doesn't seem to make a difference. And I think that's I'm guessing that's where some of those penalties might be coming from.
Yeah, I think he at least the one from last night was not as egregious as some of the Boston games where he had a few penalties. Trotz has said it. He's like the most talented player in the team, so he has to stay on the ice. And for me, I think that's what you're talking about. I definitely see it too. I think it's frustration that it's almost like he's being sacrificed. That first line is like,
oh, do you think maybe that's how he feels? He's like, we don't have the talent we need on the first line, Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's kind of helping, but like,
Bro,
I think he'll come around to the fact that they're winning games because of it, because it's giving an opening to that second and third line.
Yeah. Wally on the first line. I'm saying it now.
I'm not sure Wally's going to play again.
Well, because Clutterbuck has to come back, right? That was the thing that they're trying to figure out with the lineup. And so Zajac off, Wally on. That's what I say.
That was funny how you said that, Zajac off.
Not what I meant.
Anyway. So it's going to be a little bit tough because here's what you got to take into account. The good thing about Barry Trotz is I feel like as a fan, he's fairly predictable in like how he's going to deploy the lineup. Recently he's done a good job of jumbling the lines, but you kind of like Wahlstrom coming out of the lineup wasn't a shock because with he will favor the veterans.
He's a low Lucoin guy. He's a
low,
very low Lucoin guy.
Yeah, well, it depends. He loves his fourth line, but he, I would say actually maybe he's a high Lucoin guy because if he's playing Leo, like over Wahlstrom, Leo is definitely your fantasy Lucoin
Well, that's what
guy.
I mean. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm saying Wally's a low Lucoin guy.
Oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you were talking about Trotz. Yeah, Trotz definitely
Oh no.
likes his Lukecoin guys.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. So here's the tough thing for Wally, that he might not want to hear, but it might be good for him to sit a few games because, um, I don't know if you can justifiably take Dal Cole out of the lineup, with how much he added last night to the second line. Um, and I don't think you can touch that third line. I like Bo Bailey, Dal Cole. Sorry, Bo Bailey,
Could you imagine?
Pajot. That needs to stay together. It just looked incredible last night. So,
But see, this is actually sorry. I keep on cutting you off. I know, and I know we had like a more of a structure, and I'm just throwing it out the window. It seems pretty much like anybody you put around Pajot is going to do reasonably well. Obviously, unless it's like Komarov and who else was on the third line earlier in the season. It
I
was
think
like
Dal Cole played on it a little bit. Dal
Yeah.
Cole's definitely been better on the second. I
that's
don't know,
true.
maybe.
That's fair.
And it's funny too because like he doesn't score, so it's tough to put him on the second. But then he does like the little things right, and you're
Yeah.
like, all right, for the good. Like if we're winning games and he's playing there, we're not gonna mess it up. And I think Trotz likes Dal Cole. He like Dal Cole probably under any other coach would have no value. But I would say that Trotz has probably figured a way to get the most out of Dal Cole in this iteration of Dal Cole, which is a man who, if he could just start scoring, actually could have a lot of upside. But I think I said I had Mayfield and Barzal, right? I said
you just said Barzal. You didn't talk about Mayfield yet.
Oh,
well,
Mayfield.
you did say he was the whipping boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the
I had
bad
Mayfield as an honorable mention for the not of the week.
Wow,
but
imagine that.
But it's tough too because I didn't make him the full on not because so he was bad in both of the Boston games. Like he was legit really bad. But I noticed him play better the last two games. So that's why I feel like I had to put him on at least as a mention because his two Boston games were so bad. Like he just got out, like he got caught puck watching on the Taylor Hall goal that put Boston up 2-1 in, I think, the first game. And he had some failed clears on penalty kills. So I couldn't justifiably not at least mention him, but I also wanted to be known that I think he played the last two games pretty well.
Okay, that's fair. I feel like that's fair. That's like harsh, but or not harsh, but just fair, like strict but fair. Maybe that kind of mindset.
Unfair and balanced.
Yeah.
TM.
I don't know. Is that a joke referencing something?
That's what Fox News' thing used to be. I don't think it is anymore. I think they changed it.
Oh yeah, they probably legally had to. So okay, so playoff positions then. So I couldn't agree more with the hot or not. And I don't know if I mentioned this already. I unfortunately did not get a chance to see. I basically completely missed the Philly game. So I was following that like just with updates.
So did all the Islanders forwards.
Oh, yeah, right. Because Letty got the goal. And so, so I also ESPN. Man, I don't even know why I turn on their notifications. They mess it up every time. So it was like first three periods, no goals, whatever. Going to overtime. After it says overtime, no goal, going to shootout, and then it said Letty scored in the shootout. And I was like,
man.
And then I think
that's
they corrected
gonna be great.
It finally.
Can't wait for them to have full like television rights to the NHL. It's gonna go so well. Everything's going so well so far.
But anyway, so moving back to the playoff positions, which I jumped the gun on before. So let's see if I can find this tab here. Yeah. So what do you have to say about the playoff positions? Pretty tight. Yeah,
things have tightened up big time because I think at a certain point it was starting to look like the Islanders. After the Boston games, heading into the Philly game was kind of like all right, if we don't win tonight, we can kind of kiss first place like goodbye. But that also didn't take into account that the Capitals would not play extremely well the last few games. Pittsburgh had a loss to Buffalo. So
hell yeah,
some things worked out around the league scoring wise for us. And
I mean, if part of that makes me think like it's about time because I feel like it never actually ends up working out, and I'm sure every team thinks that, But it's
yeah,
like, you know, I guess I'm fine with taking it in stride and like
yeah,
not like being like, oh, thank God this happened. More like, hey,
mhm.
the balance swings.
I think the Pittsburgh, like any one of these three teams. Actually, you know what? Any one of the four teams currently in a playoff spot could feasibly still win the division because while Boston is 4 points back of first, they have 2 games in hand,
Mm-hmm.
and they're in the midst of a 5-game winning streak. So if they win those 2 games, they're tied for first. Now, I
That's a good
think
point.
they're. Let me take a look at because the regulation wins is the first tiebreaker. That's still comfortably. Washington has 24
Yeah,
regulation wins, which is pretty impressive. But Boston, points wise, is still going to be in it. Obviously the tiebreakers only matter if
yeah.
there's a tie. So
Boston has 2 less regulation wins than we do, which
yeah,
is
that's
nice.
kind of interesting.
I
I
didn't
wouldn't
realize that. Yeah,
have anticipated that. Although if they win the next 2 games of regulation,
that's
uh,
true. Yeah, then
yeah.
we'll be
But
tied. So
something
it's
to
always the games in hand like really matters now.
yeah, especially this time of year, especially. I think I had Boston schedule up a second ago. I was interested to see if
I
they
will pull it
could
up.
win those next 2 games. They get Buffalo twice in a row.
We
Well,
have Buffalo twice in a row at the end of the season.
oh
So
sure,
and
yeah,
we have
yeah.
New Jersey and
They had Boston. Hmm.
I was just say yeah, we have New Jersey and Buffalo like for a week basically. That's like one of our last weeks.
Do you want to hear? Do you want to hear a big reason why Boston could still win the division?
Oh my God, I'm looking at their schedule. They have Buffalo 4 more times.
And Jersey twice.
And Jersey twice. No, they have Buffalo 5 more. They have Buffalo 5 more times,
4.
bro. No, they play them once in the beginning
I
of
think it's
May. Oh no, wait, they played them last night.
uh
I'm sorry. I'm looking at. I thought today was.
yeah,
I was looking.
yeah.
Sorry,
So
sorry everybody.
yeah.
I'm sorry. All right,
Yeah, they still have half their
4
games
more
against
times.
Buffalo. They have
Damn.
2 more games against Jersey. The rest of the games are
Wow.
competitive ones, but Jersey is an interesting team. Not in terms of like obviously they're dead. They're
We
actually
killed
in
them.
danger of Buffalo catching them. That's how bad Jersey has
That's
been.
really bad.
Jersey is 1-9 in its last 10. They've lost 7 in a row, and Buffalo has been playing better. That's something I'm keeping
Damn,
in
7 in a
mind
row.
because
Hey,
that's
after they lost Hall, they started playing better. Weird.
well, it's interesting. I think the new coach has done a really good job in
Oh
Buffalo,
yeah, I'm sure.
Don
Yeah.
Granato, and I think the players just have less pressure on them now with nothing to lose. Like they
And
have,
Eichel's injured too, right?
yeah. So
That's
none
crazy.
of their stars are none of
Yeah.
their forward stars are really playing. Although I'll give Sam Reinhart that he's like a burgeoning star, but yeah, like I feel like there's no pressure there anymore. They were like once they got that streak off their backs and they got rid of the coach,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of things have been more positive for them. They've been in games. That's going to be interesting because they're going to have a say in the final playoff positioning because
Yeah.
they get so many games against Boston. They have 2 more against the Isles. So yeah, they're still going to have some say in how things are going to go. And I didn't get to watch the Boston Buffalo game the other day, but only a 2-0 win for Boston, and it sounded like Buffalo, like skated with them all right. So
Yeah.
it's fun that this time of year. I maybe I won't be saying this. It's fun if they like screw us up, but Buffalo. Let's see. Buffalo has won 3 of their last 6. That's not bad considering where they were. In their last 10, Buffalo's 5-4-1. They're a winning team.
That's insane.
So that is going to be interesting because Buffalo's schedule is Boston, Boston, Rangers, Rangers, Boston, Boston, Islanders, Islanders, Penguins, Penguins. So it just sounds like I'm from
Yeah.
the Sandlot. But there's plenty of games that Buffalo is going to have a say in terms of standings. And basically, if they beat the Rangers in one of those games, the Rangers are done.
Yeah, the Rangers pretty much have to win everything now.
Yeah,
Right?
honestly, their record.
Boston has 2 in hand, and what are they,
and,
6
and they're
points
6
ahead?
points up.
It's like that's pretty tight. I was actually just looking
Yeah.
at if you look at the Rangers schedule. So the Rangers are playing the Flyers twice, then
Yeah.
Buffalo twice, then us. So they actually have not an easy schedule left. They have I mean, I don't know what they'll do against the Flyers, but they have us, the Flyers, 2 against Buffalo, 2 against the Caps. Their last 4 games are against the Caps in Boston. So it's like I mean, unless Boston starts losing for some reason, which I don't think they're going to, I don't think it's. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Rangers are. I would say, if I were a betting man, I would say the Rangers are out.
Yeah, here's the one thing to make the case. If I were a Ranger fan looking at that schedule, I'd say, hey, we've dominated Philly this year. That's 2 games. Buffalo, while they're playing better, the Rangers should still beat them. So,
Right.
Maybe that's 4 straight wins. And then you get the Islanders, who the Rangers have been competitive with. So you got to think that you can at least get a split of the Islanders series. And then the real test is those last 4 games.
Yeah.
And it's actually, I love the fact that their last 2 are against Boston. That's,
pretty.
that's
It's almost like
perfect.
poetry. It rhymes,
Yeah, it's like saying, that it rhymes.
Yeah.
But
Well, George, is that you? Where did
but also like it's so funny how like you have to play 4D chess in your head this year to figure out who to root for on any given night because
that's true.
like you'll root for one team one night and then have to root against them the next. It's been all over the place, and the fact that like I'm looking at the Rangers playing Washington after they play us in early May, and we, depending on the situation at that point in the season, we might be rooting for the Rangers for both of those games because, hey, maybe we want to win the division. Maybe we're in position to win the division. And
so then that means then that's actually not unlikely that if we get to first, then the Rangers get in. We're going to be playing the Rangers.
Oh yeah,
that'd
be the first time they've played since '94.
Did you watch that thing on MSG Plus, like the shorts with Isles girl?
I did,
and her boyfriend, who's a Rangers fan.
Yeah, I heard that. I actually was watching The Boys.
Oh wow! Okay.
With my friend Rich, and I don't have Amazon, so I can only watch it when I go over there. And it is very good. I would recommend it so far.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
One of the darkest things I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. Is this the sponsored part of our show where we talk about Amazon or whatever?
Yeah. But so to get back to the Isles, Islanders podcast.
Could have fooled me.
It's almost the reverse of I think the Rangers schedule, where the Rangers look at the next few games and go, all right, we can win these. And then the back end of the schedule is like, all right, like it gets progressively harder. Our schedule is kind of the opposite. So
let's take a look.
Obviously, we have the 3 against Washington coming up, and that's like seismic. That's going to decide a lot.
Yeah, right. I mean, you're right. That's so. I didn't even think of this because the Rangers are playing Boston last, which is going to maybe decide a lot, and we're playing Washington, which will. I mean, those are 4-point games, right? Like all of them, right?
Yeah, that's gigantic, and obviously, the whole division, Pittsburgh, Boston, and to an extent, the Rangers are going to be watching those games. I talked about it in the recap last night. The Rangers are going to be looking at this Islander-Washington series and hoping that one team sweeps the other, like full on, no overtime points. Like one of these teams gets annihilated, because then the Rangers could still have a shot at taking down whoever gets like run over if that happens. I don't think one of these teams is going to run over the other. I think if you look at the fact that they're look at how similar the Islanders and the Capitals are. Goal differential is within 5. Their records are identical.
Yeah, that's insane.
Although the Capitals have been better at winning in regulation. The Islanders and the Capitals, every time they've played too, I feel like we've had interesting games. We've had 8. We've had it Capital crushing victories. We've had Islander crushing victories. We've had both teams win, like games that were probably heartbreakers for the other. So I don't anticipate one team running over the other for this Washington 3-game set. But then the Rangers right after that. So the Islanders schedule, the Islanders get to bank on the fact that they play Buffalo and Jersey 4 times collectively right before the rescheduled Boston game. And And sorry, I was looking at a thing that said game to be played at a neutral location, but it wasn't listed. It was just like an asterisk
For
in
the
case.
wait for the
Well,
for
no, none of
which
the
game?
games. It's just on the bottom for no reason, even though it's not applicable to any of the games. But
Oh, okay.
um, that's ESPN though.
Ah,
But
explains it.
yeah. So for me, basically, I'm not going to get ahead of myself because these next three games are going to decide if we're going to just hang on to playoffs or if we're going to like get greedy and try to win the division.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it wouldn't matter, right? Like, because I always think of getting greedy as like, right, if we tried to play like a high flying offensive game, I guess, or something
Mhm.
like that, which I mean, I literally can't imagine us doing.
Hey, we did it last night.
Well, yeah, but that was like by accident. I always think
Mhm.
of that stuff happening where it's just like when the game opens up and stuff like that. And actually, this is one point I did want to make about last night's game, about the
Mhm.
Rangers game, is like I feel like the Islanders were very consistent for the entire game. Like they didn't let up the
Mhm.
entire game, and then you saw that pay off in the third period after they ground whatever the Rangers down.
Yeah.
Um, and so like that was so satisfying that it did open up as much like that it basically worked, I guess.
Mhm.
Whereas I guess I'm less confident that that could happen against Washington. The last time I was talking about playing Washington a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm more nervous about playing Washington than Pittsburgh because we hadn't played them as much,
Mhm.
and so
Yeah.
then we ended up really doing great those two Washington games. That was right in the beginning of April.
Mhm.
So I guess for this, I expect it to be a little bit more even for these three games. I
Yeah.
would say, obviously, if we can get we can get 4 out of the 6 points, I would be
Oh
ecstatic.
yeah, yeah. I'd
You
be
know?
over the moon because I think you're just trying to hold serve against
Yeah,
Washington,
exactly.
and well, like I said, I don't anticipate either team running over the other. I feel like
Hmm.
the Islanders are coming in feeling good. The Islanders are coming in with two hot goalies, and the team coming off of like an emotional, fun win that probably got like got them to like refocus.
Hopefully.
Whereas the Capitals, I want to look it up real quick just to make sure that this is accurate. But I feel like the Capitals have actually not played that well recently and have left the door open to the Islanders. Let's see.
Let's see. Their last 10 is they're 6-4. 6
Well,
4 0.
so they've lost two of three more
Okay.
recently, and um, two of those games were. I mean, if I'm a Capitals fan, I'd probably be a little bit worried because losing to Buffalo 5-2, just like
How does
not
that
just
happen?
losing to Buffalo, but like Buffalo like running you kind of into the ground for that game, not a good look. And then they come back and they beat up Philly, but guess what? Philly sucks. And then they get kind of beat up by Boston, a Boston team that's getting real hot. So
Yeah.
and this is where it's like a Mexican standoff. It's a four-way standoff because if one team has the bottom drop out from under them, the Capitals could end up the 4 seed. Like
Hmm.
the Boston has 2 games in hand. Boston has played the Capitals well. Boston's schedule the rest of the way is all right. It's not impossible for Boston to win the division, to have Pittsburgh be 4, to have the Islanders be 3, to have like any combination of the top 4 is still
Yeah.
realistic. And then you have to at least give the Rangers the respect of like they're not totally done yet, and they're a team that can get scalding hot. And I am starting.
I feel like they're starting to peter out though, the Rangers.
Well, it is only one game. They have won 4 out of 5.
Yeah, but
Granted,
they lost to us, which is all that matters. So
that's well. I mean, you're not totally wrong because it was a really really bad draw for the Rangers last night because every other playoff team won
yeah.
that played. So Pittsburgh and Boston winning um, puts the Rangers in a really tough spot. Like the Rangers lost ground on every team that they're chasing last night.
I there was I can't remember if it was either on your Twitter or on YouTube comment or something completely different.
Mhm.
Somebody was like, "Yeah, Boston. This is why Boston's gonna win. They're winning the cup, and all this stuff is like, whatever. They're having a good week." And it's like, I guess it was just a reminder. Like sometimes I can get too inside of like the Islanders and like like, oh, this is why they're gonna, and without really giving enough due to like
Mhm.
the other teams. And like basically exactly what you're saying. It's just like the seeding could be anywhere, and it's kind of like I almost, by the time we're actually playing each other in the playoffs, I feel like almost anything could happen, you know?
Yeah, and to whoever that was, I didn't see that comment, but
It might have been a different video. I don't even know.
well,
Something
but
that's not even ours. But
it's not. Hey, I like Boston is an experienced team, with now all of a sudden really good goaltending depth because Halak hasn't been playing, Rask hasn't played a lot, and they haven't let it like sink them. And now they've got Rask back. So if you're a Boston fan, you're probably feeling pretty good right now. I feel like the team is starting to get hot at the exact right time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not the exact right time is like you win your last 5 of the year and you go into the playoffs scalding hot. They're currently very hot, but there's enough games left that if Boston got, into a bit of a rut, even if they still made the playoffs, they wouldn't go in scalding hot. There's still a lot of time. You can't really say if a team's going to go in scalding hot to the playoffs yet. And what does that mean in a year where you're only playing teams that know you really well? There's so much film. There's so much game film to digest on each other. Anything could happen. The Capitals' next 5 games are Islanders, 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 Penguins, Penguins. So the Capitals, if they fall off, they could freaking fall to the 4. I predicted the Capitals to finish 4th coming into the year.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I didn't think they
so
would
you want
adjust so well.
So this is all like just to match up with
Oh yeah, I just want my look. I'm already feeling myself from picking Florida to make the playoffs.
Yeah, right. I mean, are they still number 1? Oh no, they're number 2 now in the Central. Okay.
Yeah, but like the Central, I might get all 4 playoff teams right. In the East, I might get 3 of the 4 because Philly decided to be terrible. I have the Rangers perfectly picked out, where I had the Rangers finishing 5th, and I said they're a team that's going to be in it to the end, and they're in it. And I had the Rangers finishing ahead of Pittsburgh. That if you flip Pittsburgh and Philly, it's the same state. Then I'm right.
Yeah. And I'm right. So that'll be interesting. We should definitely do right at the end of the regular season.
We'll make fun of my picks.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll be celebrating them.
They're doing okay.
But it is like I was just thinking during the Rangers game. I was like, wow, we would be basically halfway through the regular season in a normal season now, and it's like it just feels like obviously it went by quick, but it's I don't know. It's actually kind of nice,
Yeah.
So, but anyway. All right. So that was the playoff positions. You said there was something you possibly want to talk about with the lineups.
Yeah, very shortly, because we kind of touched on it with the hot and not stuff. But I'm looking at dailyfaceoff.com, which has all the lines for every team. And what I'm looking at right now has Dow Cole, Nelson, and Bailey on the 2nd, Beauvillier, Pajot, Palmieri on the 3rd. I think that's a little bit off. Did you hear that bird?
I don't know.
There was a bird like making a lot of noise.
Wait, hang on. Let me pull up the lines here. So it's Islanders, Islanders. There we go. Let's see.
Daily Face-Off.
Oh God, I don't know. How does this? I never use this website.
If you go to Daily Face-Off and then you go to the top and you go to line combinations, it has a drop down to all the teams.
I see now. Where'd it go? Dead air, everybody. Where's there it is. There's the good old Islanders logo.
Cut it out.
It's all staying in. We're doing it live. Okay, so I'm looking at it now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at the most updated one.
Yeah. So I do think they're granted, like the lines will change from day to day, so I don't blame them for. But I think Bailey is going to stay on that 3rd based on how well it went last night. That 2nd line is interesting because you've got Palmieri, who hasn't had a great goal scoring year. You have Dow Cole, who has never had a good goal scoring year in the pros, outside of the AHL. Although I feel like I always have to get a dig on him. Michael Dow Cole has been playing well. I have to add that. But you've got Brock Nelson as kind of that line's sniper, so that kind of makes up for it. He has 16 goals. The first line, it's a decoy.
Yeah.
Like Barzal, Zajac, Eberle. Zajac's been centering that line, which makes sense. So Barzal, without anybody really talking about it, has officially become a winger. Unofficially become a winger. Officially, he's playing the wing. And I feel like nobody's talking about that. But
That
I
is a
feel
good
like
point, yeah.
that is not something that was ever out of the question since he's not a great face-off guy. I think he's been like mid 40s to upper 40s percentage-wise in his career on face-offs. So that's not a huge shocker. And you get a guy that can take face-offs, you use him. Fourth line, it looks like it'll be back to normal. It sounds like Clutterbuck's about to come back. And this kind of leaves Leo out. And, a little bit rough because Leo's been playing, like we said, Leo's been playing better. Got to give credit to Leo where it's due. I haven't looked at him for maybe a week or so and gone, uh-oh.
Yeah.
He had a good chance off of a Dow Cole play in the last game, which
Wow,
is
that's
is a sentence.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
But yeah, so for the next game, I'm fully expecting Wallstrom to continue to sit until somebody else cools down, because I think if you were judging without talking about recent acquisitions, you might bench Palmieri, but you're not going to bench a guy you're trying to get acquainted with the lineup and that you gave up a first round pick for. So he's just not coming out of the lineup. Josh Bailey played well enough last night that he'll get at least a few more games. And also the guys in the post game talked about how great a leader he is. And in the absence of Lee, I don't know if they're going to even toy with taking Bailey out when he's healthy, because if he's able to add leadership that the players feel is actually influencing the team, I don't think they're going to mess with that. And Jordan Eberle, I could see Eberle coming out of the lineup if he's really struggling and you have Wallstrom come back in for him. But Eberle the last few years has been pretty good in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So there's a real chance that Oliver Wallstrom doesn't get back in until somebody gets hurt. And I don't think that's a terrible thing. I think as a rookie, in a weird season to be a rookie, we shouldn't overreact to him, getting not even really getting benched, but just some other guys started playing well. He's a rookie. Trotz knows that he'll get his chance. And, so I think the lines last night are going to stick, at least for a couple games. And, that's kind of all I have. Oh, and defensively, the pairings, Pellich, Pollock, you don't touch. Leddy has continued to play really well. The right side has been interesting. Mayfield, like I said, 2 good games, 2 bad games. Andy Green, now they have Braden Coburn. They have Thomas Hickey. I haven't been extremely impressed by Dobson recently. And Dobson sat a game the other day. I wouldn't rule it out if you see either Hickey or Coburn playing in the playoffs with Andy Green. It really sucks because I don't think it's impossible. I think Coburn, even though Coburn's stats are not good, but there was something I saw in the game the other day, and maybe this is me turning into an old-time hockey coach who only goes on the eye test.
Yeah.
But I really like his long reach. I noticed it was a small thing, but there was a play where he was definitely beaten to the puck, and he couldn't get it. He couldn't win the race to the puck, but he has such long reach. He's such a huge guy that he was able to sneak his stick around the guy and slap it up the ice one-handed. I don't know. I think the underlying numbers say you probably don't test it. And that
I wouldn't say in the
I should probably lay off the drugs on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the reason I'm considering that is because I know that Barry Trotz will default to veterans.
Yeah, that's true.
In the clutch time. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on Dobson and Mayfield. Although I don't think Mayfield's going anywhere. He could play.
Yeah.
He could play as bad as possible, and Barry Trotz just loves him, so he's not going anywhere.
I mean, you think so, or you think it's more like Barry Trotz likes him I guess to put it.
Oh, he
Slightly.
likes him.
Yeah, he likes him. Yeah.
Ah.
No, like I can't remember if I made this up because we've been so hard on Mayfield this entire year basically, and all that being said, like I'm still happy Mayfield's on the team, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Because it's ultimately for the
Because we
fans,
might have
right?
him on the pod one day, and we probably shouldn't.
Apparently,
yellow.
he's the most active out of most of the players that on Twitter.
So I probably made a terrible decision in
Yeah,
making him
we should have made fun of somebody else.
the whipping boy of the year. Leo
s-
was it last year.
And so, I was gonna say, yeah, I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like I remember Trotz saying things in post games and stuff about how, maybe not specifically Mayfield, but just the defense and maybe wasn't playing great and stuff. I don't know. I'm not gonna go back and check. So
Goaltending.
yes,
The last conversation I want to have. I don't mean that in like the phrase of like, oh, that's the last thing I want to talk about. No, I actually want to talk about this because Varley played well last night. Didn't have to do a ton, but like I said in the recap, made a key save on Brett Howden at the end of the second. Could have been a 3-2 game going into the third. Kind of like Varley making a big stop there kind of allowed the Islanders to pull away. But I everybody I've talked to still, like I think Varlamov gets first crack in the playoffs. But I do think that with every great start from Sorokin and Trotz, he was playing the numbers the last two games. Like Sorokin has played great against Philly, and Varley's played great against the Rangers, and those stayed true. So good on Trotz for his goalie deployment. It's been really good. I haven't really had any point in the year where I was like questioning it too much.
Yeah. It is interesting though that we faced Sturkin again last night against the Rangers. I thought for sure we were going to see Georgiev.
That's a really good point. That made no sense to me. That's an example of
It's
not
an anti-Trotz.
great,
Yeah.
not great goalie deployment. I don't like that very much at all. That like if I were a Ranger fan, I'd be like,
What the heck?
excuse me.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that
That's what
doesn't
all
make
Rangers
any
fans
sense
sound
to
like?
me. Sure.
Sorry.
No, that like if I were a Ranger fan, I would want Dan Quinn, I think, fired.
Really? Like that's it? Like
he
wow.
like I think of it like this. I don't see his team like I see teams coached by specific coaches. Barry Trotz, he has
Just
a game
for
style.
example, just pulling that guy out of nowhere.
Who else? I mean Babcock in a similar way. When he was coaching, like coaches have like really good coaches. I feel like are able to establish a play style that you notice even as a fan, where you're like, oh, this is it's a good tough defensive team. They don't take a lot of chances offensively. That'd be us. Or
another random example out of nowhere.
Yeah. Or like the Capitals with Peter Laviolette, who have looked better defensively. I think maybe it's just been the goaltending that's let them down. Although defense hasn't been great either. But like the fact that they've their goal scoring has continued on. You could maybe say that Peter Laviolette has done a good job in adapting to the forwards. With a few, like maybe a little bit less of, I felt like the Capitals last year were kind of sitting ducks in the playoffs. And this year I don't feel as much that way. Although I'm not sure I would pick them in a series right now. I do have some worries about their goaltending not being that great. But this got off topic.
Yeah.
Basically what I mean is Ilya Sorokin is, I think the fact that Sorokin started a game that I perceived to be incredibly important, that Philly game, coming off of two really bad losses in a game where it was kind of going to decide, are we going to have a shot at winning the division? Are we going to be struggling? And he went to Sorokin, and Sorokin rewarded him. I think as a coach, you probably feel pretty good about that. And Varley, I do think Varley would probably have to struggle pretty badly the rest of the way to lose the starting spot again, because he has the veteran influence as well. And like, I don't want to discount Varley. He's been in the past a pretty decent playoff performer in his own right. So We shall see is maybe the way I should leave that, or I'll talk myself to death.
So, okay, so that...
Which was an alternate name for the podcast.
Maybe we should change it. Tom Talks. Talks to no one in particular. So,
it's like TED Talks, except...
except only me! So, yeah, this guy Ted thinks he knows everything. All right, so that was the interesting... Yeah, so it's definitely some interesting stuff around the lineups. Mm-hmm. The lineup, whatever. Plural, singular, you decide. So... anything else before we do our final segment? Tom?
No, I'm ready for that final segment.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a big one. All right.
Yep.
You all asked for it. We're bringing it back. That's right. Around the league in 60 seconds. All right, Tom, are you ready for this one?
Yes.
Are you feeling good? You got the list of teams up?
I do have the list of teams up. I do not feel good.
All right. So, I think we should have I think it should be slightly modified, but same idea. So there's 60 seconds to get through all the teams, right? In case you didn't.
But I have 60 seconds for each team.
Yeah. So it's going to be a 30-minute long segment to end the podcast. I was thinking more like, 60 seconds you get like the first star. 90 seconds you get like the second star. 2 minutes you get the third stars, right? So it's like there's still like a time panic, to get through it as fast as possible.
Sure.
And I think we'll just do it like that. So
all right. I am prepared.
I have the timer up. Let's see. Hang on a second here. All right. Hopefully my screen isn't mirrored like it sometimes is. There we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right, Vegas Golden Knights. Just keep doing what you're doing. Maybe be a little bit better.
Too long. Keep on going.
Colorado. Stop getting COVID. Minnesota, I'm excited for you come playoff time. Arizona, mediocre. St. Louis, mediocre. San Jose, you almost had it. LA, you're on the right track. Anaheim, keep playing the kids even though you're terrible. Carolina, you can finally do it, Carolina. I believe in you. Florida, maybe not frauds. That was not nice enough. Tampa Bay, maybe show that you care and beat one of the Florida or Carolina. Nashville, they're coming. Dallas is coming. Dallas, you're on your way. Chicago, it's over. Detroit, it's over. Columbus, oh my God, fire your coach. Washington, start winning games. Islanders, start winning games against Washington. Pittsburgh, watch the other teams beat each other up. Boston, continue to win games against Buffalo. Rangers, you're done.
60 seconds. Come on, keep
Philly,
on going.
Philly, you're terrible. New Jersey, please don't finish below Buffalo. Buffalo, please finish ahead of New Jersey. Toronto, the goaltending, I don't even know. Winnipeg, seconds. Continue to play offense. It's a lot of fun. Edmonton, same thing as Winnipeg. Montreal, please beat Toronto in the first round. Calgary, blow it up. Vancouver, blow it up. Ottawa, keep doing what you're doing.
All right, bam.
Silver medal.
I stopped at 2 seconds late. So that you 1 minute and 25-ish seconds. Not bad. Silver medal.
Around the league in 100 minute and a half.
I keep on wanting to say 127 seconds. Around the league in 90 seconds is what you got. So that's enough for a silver star. Not quite good enough for the number one prize, which is a Nick Leddy bobblehead. It is good enough for
the second prize, which is a picture of that bobblehead.
I'm now going to print out a picture of that bobblehead. That will be the recurring prizes. We should do it for whenever we have people on, some guests on. Like that should be legit prizes we give them. Anyway, so thank you very much, everybody, for taking a listen. Thank you, Tom, for being present for once. And if you are interested in being a part of the podcast or anything, part of the channel at all, leave a message in the comments. We love having people on and stuff. So thank you again for listening. Tom, do you want to leave us with a closing thought? Yes.
I'm really excited for the playoffs. It's going to be a weird format this year. It's something that I haven't thought about in a while because the Islanders have been competitive, but I think I enjoy the playoffs more when the Islanders aren't in it. Like as a whole, when the Islanders are in it, I don't really have the time to watch other games because I'm too busy, unclenching my butt from the Islander game. But I am very excited if the team is going to wake up like they did last night and play really well the rest of the way. This Washington set, because next week's episode is going to be just the Washington set of games. Here's hoping that's a really positive video. And Michael Cole has scored, and Leo Komarov has scored, and Scott Mayfield has cleared the punt.
Yeah, watch Scott Mayfield gets the goal in every game or something. All right, thank you again for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.